Hello everybody, this is a quick video on how to avoid mod conflicts with other mods. And I'm making this because I've been looking at my own mods that I've sort of made in a rush back in the day, and then now I've been sort of fixing all the little and bigger things, and I've just been looking at the forest rather than the trees in a way because I've had some time. So let's just do a quickie. So whenever you're using assets in the game, you are changing something that is in the vanilla game, and that means that you are making changes that will transport themselves into other mods in a way. So if two mods change the same thing, then there's either, just the mod on the bottom of the list is going to be the change that is going to be read last, which in human terms means that that's the change that's going to stick. So what comes last is the truth, as they say in the Quran, I think, or whatever. Then you might have some issues with, let's say, a mod changes a town. Towns are usually the bigger things. So let's take Monroe as a good example. I can't type it right. So if you change something here, it's actually a bad example. I always do the same thing. If you change something here, and they're all dependent on each other in your mod, sort of like, let's say you have a story with 3 different characters or squads or whatever, and different buildings and so on. Then if you have some other change come in and change the town, then you're gonna have a bad time in a way, because then some of the things might be missing. The town might be overcrowded. Because there's an issue with Kenshi, like if there's not enough buildings to spawn in, and you use the residents, then that squad is not going to spawn. So there's all kinds of different stuff that might get broken. That's just an example. So when you make a mod, you should usually, or pretty much always, if at all possible, you should. Why did I close that? Let's take that up again. So bar squads are fine, pretty much, because if you add a bar squad here, it's going to spawn no matter what. So it should spawn no matter what. I think I had some issue where some squad didn't spawn for some reason, but it should spawn all the time, and it doesn't really affect anything else. I think, yeah, because this is not relative chance to each other, so it's just gonna, this has an 80% chance of spawning no matter if there's like 20 of these squads. So you can just add one here, and it doesn't really do anything. So let's just add some bar squad there, just to show a little thing. Bar thugs seem good. So as you can see now, this is green. So that means that this change is mod related, and the change is in the mod and not in the actual in the vanilla files. Although you can see that this is Mongrel is a vanilla town. So if I close this window and look at this, you can see that the text is blue, which means that you've touched an actual game file now. But so that's the difference between green and blue, just in case anybody has been wondering. So you want to have as little blue as possible, and if you have blue text, then have it in places where it doesn't really matter, which is a bar squad. The problem I can see with having too many bar squads is that there's not enough bars, so people are sort of trying to compete for chairs, but you need to add a lot to have stuff like that happen. And also, a bar squad isn't exactly, it doesn't mean that it will go into the bar. So you have to order them to go into the bar. So you can spawn a squad into a town as a bar squad, and a bar squad in Kenshi terms, it means that it's just going to spawn into the town without a residency or without a house. So they're just going to hang around. So whatever you tell the AI to do, that's what they're going to do. So this is like an unintrusive way of adding things into the game without actually breaking anything. And then there's, let's say you have a squad. I've seen some mod that, they're the starving vagrants, starving bandits. So I've seen mods that, let's say, add dialogue to the starving bandits mob. So if you start editing this mob here, and then another mod edits this same squad here, then you might have conflicts and you might have weird behavior, because which AI package are they going to do or use? Which dialogue are they going to use? Are they going to use both? If they use both, sometimes they, it's random pretty much. Then the dialogues will start competing with their score points, and if the score points are equal, which by default it's 0, then you're going to have to, the dialogues are going to have to start competing, and it's going to be random, and then things are going to get confusing. So what you ought to do is just copy this one, duplicate it, and then without touching this one, you can add the exact same mob or the exact same squad with different dialogue. And you should also note that these are not copies. So these are still all the same. So if you want to change, let's say, a lot of things about what's here, what's in this mob, you should change it in a way where you copy all of these. So you can right click and replace with copy on all of them, or you can, I think this is new for me, but you can add something and then click on the new item, double click that, and then it just creates a new one, which is good. So let's say I want to add more dialogue options. I want to recruit all the starving mobs rather than have them attack me. It's not really that big of a deal to have a squad that might or does the vanilla thing, and then you have another squad that has the exact same names, the exact same characters, but just the dialogue is different. So this way, you don't mess with the original files, and if another mod messes with the original files, you're not going to be doing that. So you're giving way pretty much to the other mod or modder or developer or whatever. So in a good way, you're giving way, because if you never give way, you're going to have a lot of crashes and stuff. That's a pretty good analogy verbally, as well as, I don't know, like, yeah, whatever. So now that we have this copy, it doesn't matter what the squad is called, because that doesn't really pop up anywhere. So then we can go to biomes and spawn areas, and we can choose, and we can actually, let's do it this way, just to put more into the video. So we're going to put in the starving bandit mob, and we're going to list the references, and now we're going to see all the parts that the game uses, or wherever this is used in the game. So you can see that in all of these biomes, they are as a homeless spawn. So this way also, let's say you want to add more you want to add these starving bandits to more biomes, then you don't have to mess with this original vanilla squat at all, and you should leave it alone pretty much, especially because it's referenced so many times in different places, at least in different biomes. And then you can just go through these and add this copy of it, and you can name it whatever you want to, and then add them as homeless spawns. So let's take a look at, I think the border zone are pretty common. So we'll see the chance, we'll see the chance of them spawning. So these are, I think, yeah, relative chances. So since there's so many homeless spawns here, adding one more doesn't really make a difference to the total. If there's only one or two types and then you add a third one, then their chances are the other squad's chance of spawning is of course going to be lower by a lot, because you're 1/3 more in a way. It doesn't work exactly that way, but you know what I mean, I guess. So there's the aggressive mob. Where's just the normal one? I can't. There it is. So their chance of spawning is 2. So what you can do is just make your starving bandit mob copy spawn here as with the same chance as the other one. So this means there's approximately 50-50 chance of having this bandit mob spawn or this bandit mob spawn. If you want to increase it, I think you can change these numbers pretty much to your liking, because I don't know many mods that change these values that much. But again, don't do it, because you can just increase this chance and leave everything else as is. So if there's another mod that changes a lot of these, and somebody else, like a really big mod, is trying to create balance, and then you want to add to it, you don't want to go messing around with that balance. So you can just add this, and then if you want more of them or a bigger chance than the other one, you can just make it 4 or whatever. So now these two are sort of splitting this chance of spawning in a way. I am not a statistician, so there's some math there to do if you want to be accurate, but just using sort of basic common sense and shortcuts, that's how it sort of works. So with the biomes, there's not really any change to the biomes themselves or the spawn areas themselves. So you can go ahead and add a lot. So like I said before, these are always going to be blue text changes, which generally is not good. But then again, with these things, sometimes it's unavoidable, because you can't have a new squad in the game unless you add it somehow. So this is a good way of handling things. So let's take an example of. Just save it if we have to come back here. Let's take this one. So I went through this a lot, because when I made this mod, I wonder what I've been doing. Anyways, so I went through this mod, and when I made this, it was a different sort of modding scene, I think, for Kenshi. So there wasn't that many mods around, and there wasn't, I don't think, like with the cannibals, I don't think there was that many mods. Let me just check real quick. I think this one came maybe after I made my mod. And then this mod is fucking awesome, right? So when I looked at my mod again, I was like, well, mine had certain aspects that were nice, like all the different cannibal cities were actually separate cities, and they had a separate chief, and they had separate diplomacy, and it created a nice sort of it created a nice thing for the cannibals, because they're just there pretty much. And then this mod came along. I can't remember if it says factions, so they probably added new factions. So that's where the mods had a conflict. So I had a mod where you can actually be a cannibal and or I have it still, and you can do all kinds of cannibal stuff that is unrelated to pretty much any of this. But then it had a conflict because I added the diplomacy, which other mods do, but that wasn't the main focus of my mod. basically. What I started with was just, expanding on them a little bit and seeing what I can do, and then coming up with, I'll just create, a cannibal lifestyle, basically. And then I still left the old stuff in there. So it always conflicted with this mod, and then I think there's like another cannibal mod that came out. Let me actually see, because I don't know. It was posted on February 2019, so this might have actually been first. I'll just check for future reference. For future reference, well, this one's the first one, so yeah, so September 2018. So I posted this one first, and after that, the other cannibal mods started popping up, because it's a faction that you can do a lot with, because there's nothing really done with them. They just hang around and you can kill them, but then that's it pretty much. So that's how I ended up messing with them. And, within 6 months, the other cannibal mods started popping up. And I never really market my mods, and I don't name them in a specific way. And I don't like marketing personally at all. It's not that it's bad, it's just that I don't like to do it. It's just the thing. So I just make a mod, I enjoy it, and then other people find it and they're like, it's pretty good. And then that's how I like it to work. Rather than trying to sort of push it, even though it might actually be good because people might like it. But anyways, I made this one, and then it had conflicts with the other mod that probably, I would imagine that somebody saw this mod and then they wanted to make their own version of it, but better, because I didn't really put that much effort into anything else except the diplomacy, and then this way of sort of just being a cannibal. So then now that I looked at it, I made a limited version of it. So this is the full version, which is going to be deprecated pretty much, because it doesn't have anything in it that other mods don't do equally as good or better, and mostly better, I think, when it comes to this. So then I came back and looked at this mod, and I was like, well, even the limited version of the mod. And I need to give credit where credit is due. I'll write it in the description, or actually, let's find, because I was looking at my own old mods, and I was unsubbed from all my mods, so I didn't know what was going on, and I was too busy anyway. So, oops, I'm still sub to that. Oh yeah, because I was doing some testing. Whatever. So, files I've posted. So then, let me get the credit for that one person who came up and said that he made some changes to my mod. Was it Swords 500? No, it was this guy, Rakoclune, who made the changes himself, and then he was like, he's going to send them to me. And then I said, no, because then I don't know what's going on, and I need to go through the whole thing. And then I was just like, fuck, because I'm working on all my mods anyway. So I was like, I'm gonna make the change myself, and I didn't make all of them what he suggested, because I can't remember all of them. But the basis of the change was to make it more compatible, which is what I've been working on now that I'm back. And then I started looking at it, and what he suggested and he had done was remove all the excess stuff in a way, just make it more simple. And when I was working on it, I didn't really focus on simplicity. I just worked on creating like this whole new system. And now looking at it with all the new cannibal mods that came afterwards, I took a look at it and I was like, well, there's, sometimes there's no reason to make things difficult, or I don't think there's ever a reason to make things difficult for competition and just to separate two things. I think everything on planet Earth and on fucking universe works better when you sort of work with the forces that are at hand. So the other mod that came later, the other cannibal mod that came later was better at what that mod did, and then mine was worse at what that mod did. But then I don't think that mod has the actual being a cannibal side to it. So then why not just focus on that and then save everybody a whole lot of trouble of editing files or making choices that they don't actually have to make just to be fucking annoying, basically. And in my case, it wasn't that I was trying to separate the mods. It was that I had made the mod before, and then I went away, and then now that I came back, things are pretty obvious how things should be. So that's why basically you don't want to create excess stuff, and you want to because this one's on here. So there are items, and there are these items are in the game already. So when somebody loses their arm or leg, that's an item that's in the game. So as you can see, none of these are blue because I didn't really do anything with the item itself. I didn't change the item, I didn't change the game itself. But then you can create a path from an item that already exists, and then use that to create this totally sort of non-reliant system with which to create the same thing, but then not mess around with anything else, basically. The problem that this system has is that if someone edits these files, that's fine. But if someone sort of removes them and recreates all of this stuff, then there's going to be a conflict. But I think that's pretty rare to have. Like there's basically no reason to remove this item, recreate it somehow, and then post a mod. If you're going to make changes, you're going to make changes to this item, but the item still exists. So there's no conflict or no problems at all with other mods, even though they might change all of these items to some extent. Like I have a mod that you can just eat them, basically. It doesn't do anything else except it changes these to edible. That change doesn't conflict with this mod because it's still the same item that the game uses. And then from that, you can go through and create a totally independent system that you can use for anything. And I think my system is based on putting a person in a peeler-like machine, and then it's a cooking pit now because I thought because that's in the game as well, and I just changed the how it works, and I created a new system. I didn't. Another good thing to know is that there's a functionality. I didn't copy the peeler machine or use the peeler machine here because if someone changes the peeler machine somehow in another mod, then you're going to have a problem. So you should strive to create completely new, even though they might work exactly the same. Especially with buildings, even though they might work exactly the same as the original vanilla copy, you should create a new one, a copy of it, and then use the copy of it, because if you're going to build the building and then some other mod changes something about the vanilla functionality, then there's going to be an issue. So get as much independence as you can from everything in the game, basically. If you can create a completely new sort of, I'd call it like an economy of the mod, then that's a good thing. The less you rely on the actual game to do anything is really good. So I think with the races, I'm not sure. I think I created like a new race as well, so that if someone changed I think this is a leftover. So, oh, this is a faction. What the hell am I doing? Races. So, right here, I added the cannibal into that one, and I think I need to change it a little bit. I'm not sure why it's there. Because I don't want to be reliant on this one. I don't want my mod to interfere with other mods, and I don't want to get changes from other mods into my game. So the idea was here that I would make just sort of a completely new race as well, so that if somebody changes the basic cannibals, then it doesn't matter to this mod. So I need to work on this. It's actually a good thing that I came to make this video, because I've forgotten about that. And then whatever you need to rely on, make sure that you rely on things that don't really matter, which is the spawn areas. Nobody's gonna really go like deleting these or changing them drastically, so that you can't just add a squad here like this. And the other one is the bar squads, which are in either the faction or the town itself. So, well, because this place doesn't have a bar, this one does. And you don't, like I said before, but I'll reiterate it, you don't have to have a bar to spawn bar squads. What this just means that they're homeless. It would be better, I guess homeless squads was already taken, and Kenshi is one of those games that sort of evolved from nothing rather than was designed to be something. So with Kenshi 2, I think they're going to go back to a lot of stuff that's just there in Kenshi 1, and they're just going to redo the whole thing, because the guy who made it didn't really know what he was doing at first. Like, I would imagine anybody who starts programming, they do something, and then they look at it like a year later or 2 years later, and they're like, what the fuck was I thinking? And then they start, you can recreate it. I've made, I think I made like one program, I made it, or app sort of, I made it like 3 times, and every iteration is better from the root up. So that's what sort of experience gives you, which is the sort of the ability to plan much further than you would normally. But I think that sort of settles it. So towns, bar squads, and towns, or faction, free game, and the spawn areas as homeless spawns, free game. So you can do pretty much whatever you want with those. Anything else you need to do, you should always create completely new independent things. And that way, there's going to be as few problems as possible. Like the entire world of Kenshi can change entirely, so long as people still lose their limbs and the limbs that are lost are the same ones. If somebody creates a new race and they lose limbs, it's not going to work with this mod. Those limbs are not going to work with this mod, but it's not going to create a problem. It's not going to crash the game or create some weird situations or circumstances that you don't want to have. So yeah, basically that's it. Create everything yourself, copy it, and bar squads and spawn area, those are the 2 ones that you can edit pretty much. Okay, goodbye.